Hey guys, it's Coach Carrie, and guess what we're making in the kitchen today? Pinto bean pie. Have you ever heard of it? I hadn't either until I was talking to one of my good friends the other day. She's 83 years old and she's an excellent cook. She's not the next 56 day approved though. And I was telling her about how we had just canned 56, I don't know how we ended up with 56, but we ended up with 56 quarts of pinto beans. And I thought, what on earth am I going to do with all these beans? It's going to take me forever to use them up. And she said, well, why don't you make a pinto bean pie? And I said, Miss Ruth, what on earth are you talking about? And she said, well, they used to make it a long time ago. Now, this lady is 83 years old, okay? And she said, she started telling me about how they would make pinto bean pies in place of pecan pies. So this actually originated in the 1920s. And when you were trying to make your dollar stretch and go longer, they would actually substitute pinto beans for pecans. And as long as the beans were cooked, it would give it that creamy consistency. We're going to be making the pinto bean pie today, and I'm going to put some pecans on top, and nobody's going to know the difference, okay? So it's all about stretching that dollar. Pecans are expensive. Pinto beans are cheap. So let's get started. Okay guys, so let's get started with the pinto bean pie. First thing you want to do is crack 2 eggs into a nice large bowl here. And then we're going to be adding our sweetener. So I'm using 1 cup of xylitol and I'm using half a cup of brown swerve. Now when you go to measure your brown swerve, you need to pack it into a measuring cup just like you would if you were measuring regular brown sugar. And this can be bought at any of the approved stores. You want to add just a little bit of nutmeg. I'm using 1/4 teaspoon here, and feel free to add some other spices like cinnamon. That would be great. I'm using 1 teaspoon of vanilla extract, and I always like to measure my vanilla extract just by using the cap because that is 1 teaspoon. And then I am using half a cup of softened or melted butter. Put all of that into a bowl, and then it is ready to mix up. Now you could put yours into a blender or just a regular hand mixer. I decided tonight that I would go ahead and use the immersion blender because I knew I'd be using pinto beans, and I thought that I would just get a more smooth consistency. So I'm adding my 1 cup of the pinto beans right now, and then I'm going to mix it up again until it's nice and smooth. And then I decided I would go ahead and use the maple syrup. Now this is Nature's Hollow brand, and I am using 1/4 cup of this. It gave it the added sweetness that I wanted, but it also made my consistency a little bit more brown, so it looked more like a pecan pie. I'm also using half a teaspoon of xanthan gum, and that is really good as a thickener or a stabilizer in some of your recipes. Then we're going to be using the coconut flour pie crust recipe. It's on page 175 in volume 1 cookbook, and this is Misty Hewlin's recipe. Yes, the famous Misty from Misty's Bakery. So this calls for half a cup of solid coconut oil, and I'm just going to put everything in my food processor because I think it's quicker. I have a dough button on my food processor, and so I just put it in there. If you don't have one, that's perfectly fine. Again, just use your hand mixer and everything should be good. I'm using 3/4 cup of coconut flour and 2 tablespoons of the approved sweetener. My sweetener of choice is xylitol. You're going to use just a little bit of salt, 1/4 teaspoon of that. And then 2 eggs. Put it in your food processor and let it work its magic. When it comes out, it's going to be like a dough consistency. So I have my pie dish here. I did not spray it with coconut oil. You can if you want to. However, I found that mine did not stick, so I did not worry about it. So I've got all my dough out here, and then I'm just pressing it down with my fist. My finger is just trying to shape it. The main thing to be sure that you're doing is just making sure that all of the crust is even throughout. You don't want to have thick ends and thin ends. Just make sure that it's a good consistency all the way across there. This pie is going to bake for 350 degrees, so if you want to go ahead and preheat your oven, that would be great. It will be cooking for a total of 60 minutes. Alright, now that we have our pie done, it is ready for the filling. So all we have to do now is put our filling into the pie crust. And if you have your spurtle, make sure you are using that. I love my spurtle. Now I will admit, when I was finished putting the mixture in here, I did take a little lick to see what it was going to taste like, and guys, the filling is absolutely delicious. So now I'm going to be adding the pecans on the top. I'm using half a cup of pecans, so this is the only pecans that are even on this pie, and it tastes like a complete pecan pie. So it is definitely a tricker for everyone. But I use my Pampered Chef little mini chopper. It just takes a few seconds to chop up those nuts there. And then I'm going to sprinkle them across the pie. Alright, time to put it in the oven. Again, it's 350 degrees. We're going to cook it for 60 minutes, and when it comes out, guys, it is beautiful. It is delicious. It has become one of my favorite pies, and who would have ever thought that a pecan pie could be made out of pinto beans? Y'all make great choices.